Democratic Congressman Steve Israel of New York is the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Surely he will know. Congressman, is there a deal that's imminent?
Well, there's no deal because we're having a hard time negotiating with one side. Look, you've got, I like what you said, Michael, that there are adults who understand that we cannot default. And you have got the Gang of Six in the Senate that is seeking a compromise. McConnell's seeking a compromise. House Democrats are seeking a common sense compromise. The president is seeking a common sense compromise. And then you've got this small group that is absolutely isolated, about 60 Republicans in the House who have already signed a letter saying under no circumstances will they vote for an increase in the debt limit, no matter what is in it. And so they are isolated by themselves, obstructionists. You cannot get to a deal unless you have somebody to make a deal with. And right now, these extremist Republicans will not even get into a room and negotiate.
Congressman, one of the reports that was out today said that there was a $3 trillion proposal in the works that would be all cuts and no revenue enhancements, meaning no new taxes. Is there any truth to that rumor?
You know, there are a variety of options that are circulating, and House Democrats agree with the president that at the end of the day, here's what we need. We need a balanced package. You cannot tax your way out of debt. You cannot cut your way out of debt. You need to grow your way out of debt. You need a balanced package that fairly increases revenues on people making over $1 million, that doesn't involve some spending cuts, and that promotes growth and doesn't hurt the middle class. That's where House Democrats are insisting we end up with, and we do not balance the budget on the backs of seniors and veterans. If we can get that kind of balance without hurting the middle class, without ending Medicare, with fair revenue increases on the very wealthiest, and some spending cuts, we can avoid this default.
Relative to those revenue increases, would expiration of the Bush tax cuts themselves be sufficient, in your view, to fit that piece of the puzzle?
If you do not extend the Bush tax cuts just for people making over $1 million, that creates very significant revenues. Not extending the Bush tax cuts for people making over $250,000 puts $700 billion on the table. And again, Democrats have said that should be part of a deal. We're also willing to discuss common sense spending cuts. But at the end of the day, Michael, look, it is unfair to ask somebody in my district on Long Island, a middle-class family, to bear the brunt of this. They may want to send their kids to college. What these Republicans are saying is, you give up Pell Grants, don't send your kid to college, but if you're making over $1 million, you get your $100,000 tax cut. But that is not a deal that we can support.
I guess, Congressman, my question is, couldn't the GOP declare victory and go home if there were no revenue increases beyond allowing the Bush tax cuts to expire? They were apparently given a green light to do so by Grover Norquist yesterday.
Well, unfortunately, Grover Norquist has kind of backpedaled, said just this morning. And that just gives you a sense of just how much disarray they are in. They tell us one thing, and then they do another. Grover Norquist this morning said exactly what you had just suggested, and within hours, he debated himself. Grover Norquist can't even agree with himself. So how can these Republicans come to an agreement with us?
What I'm taking away from you is that the sell is all on the GOP side of the aisle, and I'm interpreting from that you have your ducks in a row. Is that a fair statement?
We have said from day one that we will produce the votes necessary to pass an extension of the debt ceiling so long as it is balanced, doesn't hurt seniors on Medicare, doesn't hurt the middle class, and involves the right balance of revenue adjustments and spending cuts. And we will provide those votes along those lines. And the American people are with us. You look at every single poll, and it says the same thing. Republicans, Democrats, Independents agree with our balanced approach.
I was going to say, Congressman, according to our latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, 58% said they support the president's plan, which would include spending and Medicare cuts and an increase for the taxes on the wealthy. 36% side with Republicans in Congress and their proposal with just cuts to spending and no increase in taxes. And I sense, you know, my day job is one of being a talk radio host, and I sense there's been this shift just in the last 3 weeks as more people have come to the recognition that if there's skin in the game from all, then it's going to be a saleable package. The final word from you on this.
That is, skin in the game for all is exactly what we have called for. Protecting and defending tax loopholes for millionaires and big corporations is what the Republicans have called for. They need to meet us somewhere.
Thank you, Congressman Steve Israel.
Thank you.
All right. Joining me now.